Practice of esteeming self. Today, I would like to show you a way for building a solid core of invincible self-worth that will stay with you even when facing the most dignity-denying and threatening of contexts. I am Arthur Bloom, and in my practice as a coach and trainer, I empower individuals and organizations to actualize their potential. Consider that this presentation is more than the mere conveyance of information. I will be conveying an understanding of self-esteem, but following that, I will be demonstrating a self-esteeming technique or pattern where we will be developing 3 metastates, or states of mind. States are full-body experiences, so the effectiveness of this technique will depend on your fully engaged and active participation, using all of your senses, especially your sense of your own physiology. I know that there are those among you who, no matter what I say, will only listen to my words. And there are those who will follow my instructions, but do so only in their minds. Those who benefit most will be those who, when the time comes, stand up, shift your physiology, use the space around you to be fully engaged in acting out my instructions. A psychotherapist friend of mine once told me that one of the most common problems that his clients came to him with was the self-diagnosis of low self-esteem. Many adults in our culture struggle at finding a way to build and sustain a strong and robust sense of self-worth. Maslow saw self-esteem, or ego strength as he called it, as a prerequisite for self-actualization. For him, ego strength enabled an individual to face reality as is, avoiding a automatic and immediate fight or flight reaction to some aspect of that reality. Some modern biologists say that organisms, even at the cellular level, have 2 modes of existence. They have this growth mode, where the energy of the organism is directed outward, enabling the organism to grow and expand its influence into the environment. And they have a defensive mode, where the energy of the organism is directed inward to protect and defend the organism from toxicity and threats that it perceives in the environment. I am amazed at how much children learn in the first few years of their life. And even more amazing is that they do this learning primarily through the feedback that they get through their experience of reality as is. They are in a learning zone, growing and expanding their influence into the environment. Their learning is unmatched by us as we grow older. Maslow says the following, and I quote, "I think of self-actualization not as an average person with something added, but rather as an average person with nothing taken away." What is taken away from us as we grow older? Why do we have to work at getting into this learning zone when we are adults, when it seems so natural and easy to these young children? The answer lies in our development of our cognitive and meaning-making capabilities. At a very early age, we begin to develop language by making judgments and distinctions in our reality. Using our initial distinctions, we make additional distinctions. And we add layer upon layer, frame upon frame, frame of reference on top of frame of reference. gradually building a very dense map that gives us meaning and makes our reality intelligible, sensible. As we grow older, this map of the world mediates our experience of reality. We act on the basis of our map of the reality and not on reality itself. These maps have been a tremendous benefit to our species. They enable us to carry out projects that extend beyond our lifetime. Pan-generational projects like our science, our development of science, where we stand on the shoulders of the giants of previous generations to explore new territories, to ever expand the influence of our species into the environment, into the universe. But on the other hand, we have we can create meaning that drives us into this defensive mode. We can create meaning that is toxic and threatening. Not too long ago, I was taking care of my 3-year-old grandson, and we were having breakfast together. And during breakfast, I could tell that my grandson wanted something, and I couldn't figure out what it was. He wasn't communicating it very well. And he was getting very frustrated that I wasn't giving him what he wanted. So at one point I said to him, "Grandson, use your words." And I was surprised by his reaction. He broke into tears. He seemed devastated by my comment. I realized at that point that these words were the exact words that his father would use when he was acting out, when he was having a tantrum. This wasn't the case. I don't know exactly what was going on in my grandson's mind, of course, but I imagine it was something like this. These words coming from me, someone who he held in fairly high regard, he interpreted as an accusation that he was acting out, that he was having a tantrum. It wasn't true, so it was a false accusation. And he found this threatening to his security, and it drove him into this defensive mode of being. I wonder what kinds of meaning you have developed that are threatening and toxic to you. And if you really think about it, how toxic are these meanings in actuality? Would they prevent you from existing? If you think of a cell, when it experiences a threat and it goes into defensive, it's because the being of that cell is being threatened. Is that the case with meaning? I don't think so. So these meanings then, these toxic and threatening meanings that we create, are in actuality cognitive distortions. They are untrue meanings that we have in our map. To combat this defensive mode that we create through the meanings in our maps of the world, we have to develop better maps of that world, maps that better reflect reality as is. And one of the main distinctions that we can make for combating this defensive mode of being is the distinction between the conditional value of our human doing and the unconditional value of our human being. Let me deal with human doing first. Our human doing is the whole activity of discerning and judging and making distinctions that we use to make up our map. And it consists of our actions, our communication, our feeling, our passion, and our thinking, our thoughts. Our human doing is the subject of our judgment and making distinctions. It's necessary for us to judge whether our behavior is appropriate for a given social context. We make judgments about our actions on whether they are getting us closer to our outcome or not. And we judge our abilities, our capacities, to know whether we are confident enough to carry them out. An example of this: driving a nail into a piece of wood. Two things we need. We need to be able to hit that head of the nail on with the hammer. And we need to hit that nail hard enough so that it goes into the wood. To hit that hammer hard enough, we have to feel confident enough that we can hit the head of the nail so that it'll go in. So our confidence is conditional on our ability. They kind of go hand in hand, because the ability is also dependent on the confidence. Overall, the generality of our individual competencies and the confidence that goes along with it is our self-confidence. The unconditional value of our human being, that is something that we take for granted. It's a given. We as human beings are valuable in and of itself, intrinsically. It is not dependent on anything we do. But our value, our self-worth, is constant all the time. If we think of a baby, we treat babies for the most part as very precious and valuable. Why? Because they can't really do anything. They're not skilled at anything. So we don't apply any of the judgments that we would apply from our human doing onto the baby. The baby is valuable only because it is a human being. And we forget often that same reason for valuing that baby is the same reason why we should value ourselves. If we were going to develop a graph, with the horizontal axis being our timeline from cradle to grave, and the vertical axis is our sense of value from 1 to 100%. If we were to plot our self-confidence on that, our self-confidence when we have low capabilities, few competencies, would be very low. And it would gradually increase until as we developed our competencies, our confidence would increase until we got to our midlife, where it was very little bit. And then toward the end of our life, if we lived long enough, when our competencies began to diminish, so would our self-confidence. In contrast, our self-esteem, our unconditional positive self-regard, should be at 100% throughout our life. Our value as human beings is at 100% throughout our life. Do you separate your feelings about you as a human being from your feelings about you as a human doing? Do you ever judge yourself as a human being? Do you ever put yourself down, contempt yourself, insult yourself? Do you have low self-esteem? It's your choice. Perhaps you can think of an event where you put yourself down, some event that triggers these feelings of self-contempt, these feelings of despising and insulting yourself, of being embarrassed about yourself. Think of an event like that in the past that causes you to feel this way. And when you have that event, just put it aside for the time being. Because now the time has come to stand up, shift your physiology, and be fully engaged in acting out my instructions, which are going to follow. We are going to build these 3 states of mind, these 3 meta-states. And the meta-states are going to be the state of acceptance, what it feels like to accept, state of appreciation, and the state of awe and esteem. Furthermore, we're going to anchor these states. Which we mean by that is we're going to create an association with some sort of physical representation, something in the reality that will represent the internal state, that we can use this external reference to call forth that state. This is the whole notion of anchoring that we have in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So I'm going to anchor this by asking you to imagine circles, and then we're going to place these circles, kind of positions, in our physical space. So first, I'm going to ask you to imagine a circle. We're going to call that the circle of acceptance, and I'm going to ask you to put that right here. Next, I'm going to ask you to imagine another circle. We're going to call that circle of appreciation. We're going to put that directly in front of us. And the third circle is going to be the circle of awe and esteem. And I want you to imagine that circle and place it over here on this side. To develop these states, then, I would first want you to focus on this circle of acceptance. And I want you to think of some event, something in your life that's very easy for you to accept. It's not something that you want or like very strongly, something that you can either like or not like, but something that's very easy for you to accept. It could be something like brushing your teeth, taking out the trash, doing the dishes. And when you think of an event like that you find very easy to accept into your life, just step into that event, and at the same time step into the circle of acceptance. Standing in the circle of acceptance, notice what it feels like to just accept something into your life. Notice where in your physiology that acceptance comes from, and where how that acceptance moves in your physiology. Making that acceptance as strong as you can. And this is something that you can do as you practice this, is to get that clear and distinct and strong sense of acceptance. And having that acceptance now, leave it in the circle, because now we're going to deal with the circle of appreciation and the state of appreciation, what that feels like. So I want you to think of some event, something that you do that you just melt in appreciation over. It could be eating your favorite meal, or it could be listening to your favorite music, or enjoying a friendship, or some other activity like golf or skiing. And when you think of that event that you have, just melt in appreciation for it. I want you to step into that event, and at the same time step into the circle of appreciation and notice what it feels like to just melt in appreciation over something. Notice where in your physiology you you feel that appreciation, how it moves in your physiology. And having the feeling of appreciation, notice how you can make it stronger, and building up a really strong sense of appreciation. We can just leave it there now, because in the circle, stepping out of the circle, we can now focus on the circle of awe and esteem. And I want you to think of an event in your life that's so big, so wonderful, so marvelous and incredible that you stand in awe over it. Could be listening, it could be looking at the cosmos on a clear night, the immensity of the Milky Way. Or it could be standing in the middle of a mountain valley and notice the immensity of the geological formations around you. Or it could be the birth of a child, or birth of some animal, some marvelous and mysterious thing that you stand in absolutely awe over. And as you think of that event, and you choose that event, step into that event, and at the same time step into the circle of awe and esteem, and notice what it feels like to be absolutely in awe over something. What it feels like, where in your physiology that feeling is, and how you can expand and make that sense of awe and esteem even stronger and stronger and stronger. And as you get that strong and robust sense of awe and esteem, step out of the circle, leaving that awe and esteem there, because now we're going to deal with the continuum that we are creating of welcoming things into our life closer and closer to awe, from acceptance, where we accept things. We accept. Acceptance welcomes what is. By acknowledging it, it ends the fight of rejection. By allowing what is to exist. There's things that just are, that you don't have to deal with. Appreciation welcomes what we find valuable in our life, what we appreciate and find precious. Awe or esteem welcomes into our life those things that are the highest and ultimate of value to us. Applying this continuum to ourselves, I want you to step into the circle of acceptance and feeling that acceptance, that state of acceptance. Apply it to yourself. I wonder what you can just accept about yourself. I wonder what you find challenging to accept about yourself. Your shadow side, some past events, the cards that life has dealt you, and feeling acceptance for those things. I wonder what else would improve your life if you would just accept it. And stepping into the circle of appreciation and feeling that appreciation and applying that appreciation to yourself, I wonder what you can just appreciate about yourself, your gifts, your talents, your skills, your potentials. I wonder what it's like to appreciate your powers, your power to feel passion, your power to think, your power to act, and your power to communicate. Feeling, appreciating all that you do, stepping into the circle of acceptance. I wonder what you can now just accept about yourself. Do you like that? And stepping into the circle of awe and esteem, and feeling that awe and esteem, and applying that to yourself. You are a precious, worthy, sacred, and magnificent human being. You are unconditionally sacred and lovable. Now, feeling this awe and esteem for yourself fully and completely, letting it grow, that's right. Now, notice what else you can appreciate and what else you can accept more gracefully and easily. That's right. Now at a rate and speed just right for you. Feeling this esteem for who you are and appreciate for what you can do. Holding this strong. Bring in that trigger that used to evoke contempt and self-dislike. And notice how this esteem and appreciation changes that. And as you think about that old trigger or situation, feel this esteem for yourself, knowing that your worth and value is a given. And feel this appreciation for what you can do, so you focus there on what you can do. And feel this acceptance for the things that just are, that you have to deal with. Especially notice how this esteem and self-awe at the mystery of you and your potentials, how it transforms that old context, that trigger. How is that? Do you like that? Would that make a difference to you? Are you ready to self-respect yourself from this day forward, no matter what? Are you ready to step into unconditional self-esteem fully and make it your default program? Imagine moving through life in the weeks and months to come. Think of yourself in the week from now, using this frame of mind of welcoming things into your life to the right level. Think of yourself in 2 weeks, welcoming those things into your life. Do you like this? Notice how this will transform things for you. Does every aspect of the higher parts of your mind fully agree with this? Are you now unstoppable? Do you now have a way to build a solid core of invincible self-worth? Do you have all that you need to practice the esteeming of your wondrous self? This self-esteeming pattern that I've just demonstrated is just one of 15 patterns that we use in the Accessing Personal Genius workshop to give you the ability to step into, at will, a flow or genius state. And the Accessing Personal Genius workshop is just one of several workshops that I offer that use the cognitive sciences of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and neurosomatics to systematically empower your actualization and the actualization of your organization. You will notice on the screen right now it is my web address, unleashpotential.org. Go there now. If you haven't done so already, sign up for my news bulletins. Check out the schedule of my upcoming trainings. Or use the website to connect with me, to start a conversation about your self-actualization or the actualization of your organization. Thank you very much.